All right, testing my microphone here. Trying to have a little better setup tonight. First of all, I cannot see the camera tonight because I don't like the image being reversed. So I have another phone right below mine that's like 15 seconds behind what's actually going on right now, so I can at least see the frame of the picture, but I can't see what's going on. So at least I'm not mirror imaged tonight. I also move the camera back a little further, give you a little better depth of field. Got a couple people commenting already. So earlier today, I asked some people to go ahead and give me some questions, and I'm going to go over some of these questions here. Some of these are coronavirus related, some of them are life related, some of them are S10 related. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and post them. Our first question is from Kevin. Kevin asks, what was your immediate reaction when you learned that you tested positive? Well, I found out that I tested positive several days after the test. I give you the reaction when I was told that I needed to take the test. I think I may have relayed this already, but Saturday I just was not feeling that hot, and called my doctor's like weekend line where it goes to a generic, like UPMC nurse line. And when I gave them the specifics, I was immediately told to go get a test. I guess the symptoms I was giving the nurse were enough to tell them that I immediately needed to go for a test, which took me by surprise because I just figured they were going to say take some ibuprofen and take it easy for the day, because I just figured I had overexerted myself. So I was very surprised. Then by the time I got the test results on Monday, I don't think I was really that surprised by it. So hope that answers your question, Kev. Mark asks, why do we park on driveways and drive on parkways? I don't know. That is a very good question. I believe Sheryl Crow addressed this in a song. Okay. Wes writes, not taking your COVID lightly. But the bigger question is, how can you drink Pepsi over Coca-Cola? I've been concerned about this for a long time. Now, it should be noted that Wes Gunther, as you see him on the question here, is not just a friend of mine. He is my pastor. So I know spiritually he looks at this as, possibly a weakness in his flock. But I think this is just going to be a matter where we're going to have to view this as a difference. Fortunately, I don't think it's a doctrinal difference, but when it comes down to it, I like Pepsi better than Coke just because it tastes better. I hope that answers your question. Shane, does your wife keep the door locked from the top of the steps? With my brother noting that there is a doggy door too. She doesn't keep it locked, but it definitely does stay latched. That's for sure. I do have to go upstairs to use the bathroom. There's a little bathroom at the top of the steps. So fortunately, she does not lock that door from me. I'm just going to peek here, see if we have any new questions coming in. Alex writes, my father used to say, why does your feet smell yet your nose runs? That is another good question. Jeff, how are things coming along for Carlisle? Is the virus messing with the date like everything else? That's the first of his questions. Jeff, Carlisle All Truck Nationals, the greatest weekend of the year, is still scheduled in its first weekend in August, like it always is as of now. I don't know how Carlisle is going to handle it. I would like to get some clarity on that. What's going to happen with car shows is I you're going to see a lot of this, I think, at Carlisle, rather than have a show every month or a show every 3 weeks. I think they're going to be stacking these shows bang, bang, bang together. But I don't think that's going to help, because I think you're going to have all the different shows are going to start interfering. Normally they're timed that they don't interfere, and I think this year you're going to see a lot of the larger, especially national shows, interfering with each other. I think that will affect attendance. I think the general climate of cautiousness is going to affect a lot of car shows. But as of now, it is still scheduled for the first weekend of August. Just follow-up questions is, what are you doing for treatment? Did the doctor say to do certain things? I may have missed it in the other video. I'll be honest, and this is terribly frustrating. I told you, first of all, the other night, how there seems to be such little first-hand account of people like me who are diagnosed with this. Normally, the only people you hear about are the old people that are dying in the hospitals and nursing homes. You're not really hearing much about the healthier, Gen XYZ people that are fighting this very similar to how they would be fighting a flu. And equally frustrating with that is the fact that I have not seen a doctor. I've not had a doctor speak to me. I talked to somebody on a nurse line. They told me to go. I went down to Geisinger down in York for my testing down on South Queen Street, which was an hour from my house. It was the closest one available on Saturday. And took a test. They were very nice, but again, I never saw a doctor. When I called the test results, I talked to someone in a lab. I never talked to a doctor. They've never talked about a follow-up visit. They never talked about getting another test when I'm done. I was just told after I exhibit no symptoms or fever for 3 days, I am off quarantine as long as it's a minimum of 7 days after I took my test. So the guidance in the aftercare has been terribly frustrating. I really don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. All I was told was that I can take Tylenol or ibuprofen to help manage a fever or any aches and pains. That is the extent of the medical information I was given. I did get a survey from the Pennsylvania Department of Health. And really, their only concern seemed to be about compliance with notifying employers, colleagues, job sites, things like that, just so they could follow up and make sure that anybody that needed to be tested was tested. But other than that, that's about it. Thanks for the question, Jeff. It was a good question, and gave me a good excuse to air some grievances that I don't think I've really aired yet. Steve, hope you're doing well, Pete. My question is, how is the truck? Yellow truck is still torn apart, and I really haven't made much progress on it. So, wish I had more progress to share with you. Unfortunately, I need to get some parts powder coated. Until I get them powder coated, I really can't do much. Governor Wolf, please open the powder coaters. I consider them essential right now. Looks like I might have got a question cut off between pages being printed. Somebody asked, did you consult your normal physician first and they told you to get tested? And then I didn't expand the rest of the question. For what it's worth, I did call my normal physician. It was their after hours line, which goes to the UPMC nurse line. They're the ones that told me to get tested. Morgan asked, if you had endless funds, what would be your perfect S-series? Would it be something stock and kept stock? I assume that this is purely hypothetical. I would go back to 1993. I would probably order a standard cab short bed with the works in a nice tasteful color like aspen. Or, if money's no object, I probably would take a Cyclone bone stock, just leave it alone, never touch it, just leave it be, leave perfection alone. If I were going to go with a custom, though, it would be at a 93. Doug asks, are you running your vocals through any processors? If so, what? No, I actually have a wireless mic receiver just plugged into an XLR to mini jack adapter, plugged right into my phone. There's no processor, no mixer, no nothing. My brother Ken asked, do you ever go for a walk out of doors? I do sneak outside once in a while. I took a little lap around the yard today just because I needed to get outside. It was reasonably pleasant out before it started raining, and it gave me a good excuse to let Brooklyn outside to do her business in the yard. X Ball, do you think GM will ever build a rear-wheel drive midsize SUV even if they don't call it a blazer? Uh, Good question. I don't think until they got rid of some current lines. I think GM's biggest problem right now is that their biggest competitor is himself. You have so much of the market that's loyal to GM, and then GM's offering them five different SUVs to choose from, and yeah, I think they're their own worst enemy when it comes to that. Zach asks, Cummins or Detroit in my green tie? I wouldn't put a diesel engine in anything, Zach, especially something nice. Doug asks, how do you pronounce your last name? Uh, it is pronounced Matasivic, or Matasivac, but Matasivic is the most common. Um, it's easy to remember if you think vac, because you could see, so if you have a guy named Matt, you go, Matt. And then you show him a vacuum cleaner designed to be used underwater, and you go, Matt, a CVAC. That's the easiest way to remember it. You can also remember it, every other letter is a consonant. There are two A's, two E's. The E's are in the middle, the A's are on the outside. Every letter between them is a consonant. Shane, first gen Bravada grill, your truck, rattle can lime green. Or lifted with 26-inch wheels, and the only thing you can play on the radio is Florida Georgia Line. At that point, I would burn my truck to the ground. Vicky asks, have they talked about what to expect with length of time or symptoms? The possible cytokine storm at day 9 or 10? Are you taking any supplements? Vicky, I don't know if you were listening a little to the earlier question before I read this. They have not talked to me about anything. The lack of information they gave me is just downright insulting, to be honest. I'm not taking any supplements. I am one of those people that generally do not take anything unless it really has to. I haven't even taken ibuprofen or Tylenol since Friday, so I just generally try not to take anything if I don't have to. That concludes the ones that I printed out. I'm going to turn around here and see if there is any new ones here. It is really hard to check. Unless, I'm going to check, see if there's any live questions here. I need a sidekick. It would be cool to have a sidekick, because honestly, it'd be nice to see another human, but I don't think anybody wants to sit beside me right now. Vicky likes my shirt. Thank you. I do like this shirt. Obviously, a play on the NASA logo. Yes, Ken, I do have the camera orientation straight, although it is hard because I can't see what you're seeing. Now that I'm reading the computer, I can see my backside. Where's my four-legged friend? I don't know where she's at. She's a little camera shy. You could powder coat yourself with a household oven. I want it done right. I'm all for learning new things. My yellow truck is not where I'm going to learn how to do powder coating myself. I'll practice on the lawnmower or something. I'm not really interested in teaching myself that. Autofocus on the camera is starting to get wacky. Well, again, I can't really see it, so my apologies for that. I'm not seeing any new questions popping up, and to be honest, today, if I'm going to be a little honest with you today, now that I've gone through the questions, today's been a little rough. I've been very fatigued today, which is a symptom. It's just I slept in late. I've been very tired all day. I really didn't get a lot of stuff done around the basement today, just because I was really tired. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little hoarse today. I'm just really tired today. I'm not saying it's a downturn. I think it's just mentally, it was just a rough day. Yeah, I try to be Mr. Positive about this. I'm trying to document it so you can see kind of inside the reality of the coronavirus. Very tired. I'm getting lonely. I talk to my family. I'm tired of not seeing anyone. I haven't driven a car since Saturday. I haven't touched my wife since Saturday. I don't get to see my kids a lot. Getting a little a little lonely. Tired of being in my basement. There's some cool projects I can do, but I tell you what, I mean, I've read everything I've wanted to read. I've watched everything I've wanted to watch. Um, I try to stay busy, but I mean, being lonely is exhausting. Um, Fortunately, I am getting paid. The Paycheck Protection Act, covers that, but I'm not really making any of my side money, hustling S10 parts or DJing or anything. So, that tightens it up a little bit. Obviously, we're not out shopping and spending a lot of money, but um, it's hard because I can't help prepare meals. My wife, because of her contact with me, is trying to keep herself somewhat isolated from the kids. So, we're not really having home cooked meals because we're trying to, my wife and I are both trying to stay somewhat isolated from the kids. So it's a little hard. I'm really getting tired of canned soup and things like that. There's nothing I would love more than a big cold fountain drink, like from Sheetz or Turkey Hill right now, but I know I can't have one. Most of the gas stations aren't offering them anyway. It's things like that. I'm really missing home cooked meals, but we really can't make them. It kind of sucks. Or even just make a sandwich or something because, I would have to have my own meat and cheese and I'd have to have, a big fridge downstairs for all my stuff to really keep everything segregated. So that's a little hard. It's just been a rough day. So, and again, I'm not one to really get personal with you, but that's the reality of it. Is your body taking care of this virus on its own then? For the most part, it is, Alex. Jeff, how long am I in quarantine? I need to follow up and get some clarity on this. The Department of Health called. The guidance they are giving me is anybody who comes back with a positive test, minimum, absolute minimum, 7 days, regardless of whether you show symptoms or not. You have to remain in quarantine until 3 days have gone by without any symptoms or fever. So it could be anywhere from 7 days on. Most people who test positive do not need 14 days. She said 10, 12 seems to be the average on that. How about a coronavirus playlist? Can't touch this should be one. Good call, Case. That'd be a good one. Okay, that's a good one I could figure out. Thank you, Melinda. Do you feel that the distance you and your wife are doing from your children within the house will make a difference? I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I did get to see the kids, a little bit, but generally, we are all wearing masks. I haven't seen, our family has not all looked at each other without masks in quite a while, just because we can't. I don't know if it makes a difference with the kids or not, but and I know kids fight stuff like this a lot better than adults do, but I just don't want them to, I don't want to risk it. We'd rather just kind of isolate from the kids a little bit. My wife did go to get tested this morning, just out of an abundance of caution. It stinks because it's going to take a few days to get those test results back. One thing here, Tara Shea writes, I'm glad you're doing these and keeping us informed. I'd much rather hear it from you than the government. Well, I'm happy to. And then the reason I did this the first night was because, first of all, it's extremely boring in this basement. So it gives me something to do. And, I'm happy to give some firsthand information. I was reading some earlier where somebody was basically making it sound like everybody who gets this is dying and everyone who gets this is so sick and ill. And not really. Your Gen XYZs that don't have pre-existing conditions are pretty much all in my boat where there's a remarkable recovery rate. I mean, pretty much everybody in that age bracket is coming out of this, 100%. So I think it's good to see some younger people Not that I'm that terribly young. Um, but Jeff asked, do you take another test after quarantine? Again, something I have not been told, and something that I am waiting to get an answer on. Basically, the lady from the Department of Health basically just said, hey, when you have no symptoms, you're done with quarantine, but said nothing about getting another test. I'm going to reach out to my family doctor and ask that. Fortunately, my family doctor is part of the UPMC network, so I can generally get those answers a little better than some family doctors. My opinion on herd immunity. I am not a medical professional. From what I've heard from some medical professionals and some of the articles I've seen, it is a real thing. I just don't know enough about it. And I'll be honest, I have just tuned out the news. I can't take it. I just can't watch the news right now. It is just, it's frustrating. And I live in Pennsylvania, and I cannot watch Tom Wolfe or Dr. Levine. It's so politicized and agenda driven, and there's very little substance to it, and I can't watch it. So I really just have not watched a lot of the news about it. My wife comments that she was running a fever Monday night to Tuesday, so that was part of the reason she wanted to get tested. Initially, they kind of shushed her off about getting tested. What is the story behind the bowling pin? That bowling pin there, Frank, is from when they remodeled Trindle Bowl, probably about 20 years ago. When they tore out the wood lanes and put in the synthetic lanes, they got all new pins. And they were selling those for like $2, $3 a piece. I have a couple of them. Dan and Derek are watching. Good to see them. Hey, Pete, glad to see you're doing okay. I agree with Tara Shea. It's nice to hear a story from a real person instead of the news. I keep telling my folks about your situation, trying to calm them down a bit. Sucks I'm stuck at work during these live feeds. Stay safe. Get well soon. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. I'm normally not one to hate. Okay, you know me. I'm not really one that loves mainstream news, but, I typically watch it. I think it's good just to know what's going on, even if you know what you're seeing is often biased or colored. But I just can't watch the news. It's just too agenda driven. I'm not going to get into the politics in these videos, but it is terribly frustrating to watch. If you saw today, I planned on actually kind of moving where I have this set up. I cleaned out a nice area, and I was going to kind of set up a little more studio area, because I got to rearrange the room just to get stuff in here, because there's not a lot of room. And I was going to have a little new studio area for today, but I just didn't get it done. I just wasn't feeling like it today. I started it, didn't finish it. Honestly, almost didn't do the video just because I'm tired. I'm probably going to go to bed in a little bit. But one thing I will say, I appreciate the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of text messages and direct messages and comments and remarks and phone calls, and I appreciate it. And I gotta say, I don't mind talking on the phone, but if you want to call and talk, I don't mind talking for 5 minutes. But I know some people just want to talk and talk and talk and talk, and just doing this video alone kind of wears out my voice right now. So please spare me the phone calls for right now. But feel free to send me all the texts and comments and direct messages. I really do appreciate it. It's nice because, as I said, it is so lonely down here. It is kind of nice to have some interaction. Did I read the other day that you had the frontal lobotomy test, or did you get the easier one? This is kind of how Ian and I lived when he was on chemo. It's horrible not having to be in contact with your loved ones. Yeah, it sucks. It does suck, Andrea. Yeah, it really does. I wish more of my clients would watch you to see it's not as scary as they're being told. Well, Candy, I'm keeping all these videos public. Feel free to share them. I'm also I'm also putting all of these on YouTube. Not everyone's on Facebook, and I'm always trying to build subscribers. Now I have two YouTube channels. I have a personal one. If you search Pete Matasevic, you'll find that one, and then there's a Pete's S10 page, YouTube page as well. But on my personal, the Pete Matasevic YouTube page, if you just search by my name, you'll find it. I am posting these videos, so if you want to email them to someone that doesn't have Facebook, you want to share them with a coworker or a friend or something, feel free to. Tell them to subscribe to my channel too, and they'll probably learn to like S10 videos. I'm trying to think. I had a couple other things on my mind. It escapes me. I did have something specific on my mind. I hate turning on my back to read these, but that's kind of the easiest way for me to read this because I just can't see. Well, the camera's turned around to begin with, but my eyesight's not that great to begin with. Again, my office is kind of a mess here, so my apologies for that. I did. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have my new improved broadcast space. Because I think I'm going to do this every day till I'm feeling better. Just A, it's kind of therapeutic for me, and B, you guys seem to like it because I think y'all are stuck at home too. You can hear me coughing today and again. Today's been a little bit of a flare-up. Feeling a little more like I was on Friday and Saturday today, so I'm still not feeling horrible. I don't feel like I'm going to die. I feel like if I had to do something, I could. Like I said, the hardest part right now is I can't really go outside. Like, Saturday our plan was to go get a bunch of topsoil, for the yard, but I can't go get it because of this. And, when it's nice out, I can go outside. I can be in my yard and I could be out, doing some of that, but I can't. I can't go get the stuff I need, to work on the garden. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I don't even want to check the mailbox because the mailman has to touch it. And, my wife might want to go get the mail, things like that. So it's really tough, stuff not really being able to help with meals, and Erica made hot dogs tonight, which is nice, but, Erica's 13 years old. She can only do so much cooking, so that one's a little tough. Could be the weather, too. The rain has been wreaking havoc. Yeah, that's true. It's a little raw out. When I let the dog out a little earlier today, it'll look nice out, but it is definitely a little cold, a little raw and damp out. There's really nothing you guys can do for me. Keep me in your prayers. There's not a whole lot you can do for me. We have food. As tired as I am of, canned food, we do have it. I have plenty of my beloved Pepsi on hand. I have salsa. I have chips and Doritos and things like that. So I'm in good shape. I'm just a little tired of sleeping on an uncomfortable sofa bed in my basement. You never realize how loud all the mechanical parts of your home are until you have to sleep around them. Sleeping right beside the furnace, so every time the fan kicks in. It doesn't seem so loud when you're upstairs. Kevin says, I'm late. Did you get my question? I covered yours first, Kevin. If you rewind back to the beginning of you'll get to hear your question answered. So, not seeing a whole lot of new questions. How do you like the food delivery service? We got DoorDash for the first time last night. That was pretty awesome. Got Chili's. The problem is fries and like a hamburger. You have like a 15-minute window when they're first made that they're like perfect. Till they get to your house, the bun and the veggies and stuff on your burger aren't as cold anymore, and the fries aren't really as good. I hope that was the food delivery service you were asking about. I'm trying to think. I had a thought and it escaped me there real quick because I needed to drink something there. So let's see. A lot of my S10 friends from around the country are viewing this, which is really neat. As most of you know from the picture of my truck up here, I'm a huge junkie when it comes to my Chevy trucks. And, I got to say that a lot of these guys that I only see maybe once or twice a year, and some of them I've honestly never met. We just have an online presence going, with some of the S10 clubs. I got to say, I've been some of the biggest encouragers, and I really, really appreciate that. And then, a lot of friends that I've known for a long time from all over the place watching as well. So, I'm not seeing a whole lot of new questions. And like I said, I am starting to get a little hoarse, so I don't want to keep talking for too long. But like I said, you can find these videos on YouTube. Just search my name, and they'll come up. Feel free to share them. I'd really like to show everybody that having this is not just dark death, plague thing. Obviously, if you have elder care facilities and senior citizens, people with particular weaknesses, yeah, I mean they're in a different boat than I am. But if you're under 50 and you don't have a lot of health concerns, you really don't have a lot to worry about. And I think a lot of people are living with some irrational fears. Make sure that your elder family are taken care of. Try not to put them in a position where they need to go out. If you can drop stuff off their porch for them and do things like that, do that. But those of us that are younger, we need to keep moving, keep trucking, just use some common sense, and I think we'll all be fine. I just don't want people to think that this is the doom and gloom that the news media and politicians want you to think it is. Probably half the people that have this are like me, probably even more than half, because we're the ones out there. So just don't let the hype scare everybody. I'm just a normal human being. Tyler, he just posted a question. I'm watching this with my daughters. They said you don't look sick. Can you explain the symptoms for them? Physically, I'm very sore. If I tried to lift something heavy or do something like that, I would get very tired very quickly. Just my whole body, like from my shoulders to my toes, is just very sore and achy. I'm not moving around very fast. I get winded very fast. I get coughing fits. A lot of time I'll wake up in the middle of the night just kind of coughing. I get very hoarse. Loud noises really irritate me. Anything very loud gives me a very severe headache. So, Tyler, that would probably be the most things I could tell you. Yesterday I felt great. Yesterday was probably the best day I felt. Today I feel kind of crappy. Real sensitive to volume today. Today was one of those days where I just didn't really want to talk on the phone a lot. Things like that. Just didn't really want to have a lot of that. Tomorrow I begin my blood donations. They have a phlebotomist coming tomorrow afternoon, then again on Saturday, then again on Sunday. They're going to draw blood 3 consecutive days. This is not a doctor's thing. This is a research company. They're going to draw this blood, and it is going to be somehow tested or used for the antibodies in it for research. I'm getting paid for it, but they're actually sending someone out to draw blood, and hopefully some of my blood can be used to advance some of the research needed to treat this and to prepare for similar future happenings, I guess. Again, I'm not a medical expert, but I don't like giving blood. But the fact that it is going to be done, be useful, and again, I'm being compensated for it, so that's kind of going to be neat. So, Seeing that there's really no more questions, and I have been talking for a little while, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. It should be available to replay from the beginning here shortly after I stop it. So, thanks for listening. Again, I'm amazed that that many people find this that interesting, but I hope a firsthand account of coronavirus is helpful, and I appreciate you listening to me. And again, feel free to share with people that want some firsthand uh, information. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night.